It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, before I get started on today's video, I want to do a shout out to my good friend Chris Pollock at Pollock and Pollock. You know, Chris sent me this coffee cup, and I got to tell you, every time I drink coffee out of this, boy, it tastes so much better. Hang on a second. Now, I know some of you are saying, I'll bet you that cup's empty. And some of you'd be right, it's empty. But ladies and gentlemen, Pollock and Pollock, they have the alternative toner. If your OEM's out of toner, call up Chris Pollock. He's got the toner, right? And when you're using it because your OEM ran out, why don't you start evaluating how much money you're actually saving by using it? Because it could become a normal thing for you, right? We've got to save some money in our industry. We got to cut some costs in our industry. There's no doubt about it. But today I want to talk about some of those cost-cutting measures. But before I do that, I have a new additioning to the end of the day with Ray. I don't know how often this person will come on the air, but this person's traveling around on the highways. And I want to make sure that I include him in some of my messaging, because I heard through the grapevine that if you put a motorcycle in the message is more meaningful. I just hear these things. Put a motorcycle in the message is more meaningful. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I got the cat on the bike. And you'll notice this cat driving down the highway is going pretty fast, so I'm not going to be able to have him talking or anything because he's got to pay attention to the road ahead of him. But I would imagine that over the next month or two, I'll pop him up on the interactive board so we can put a motorcycle in the message, because I did hear through the grapevine, if you put a motorcycle in the message has to be meaningful. Just something to think about. But let's talk about some cost-cutting things that we got to be doing, folks. A long time ago, I did a video and I talked to the dealers about getting rid of their production print business. A lot of these smaller dealers, they might have 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 machines in the marketplace. And I suggested just take those machines and go sell them to the OEM that's in your market. Just let them take them over. And folks, or go to another dealer and let them take them over. Because you're not making any money on them. And if you looked at the math and you really dug into the details of that, you'd realize it's a disaster. You'd realize your first call effectiveness on your production machines, if you're just dabbling in that space, is probably like 40% of the time. The biggest, most expensive thing you're selling in the marketplace, and your first call effectiveness to the end user is like 40% of the time. Folks, if you don't believe me, look at the data and study it hard. Look at how many parts you have in the parts room based on 10 or 20 or 30 machines in the marketplace, because you're afraid you're going to run out of a part for a production machine. But yet when you do go fix the production machine, you only fix it right the first time, like 40% of the time. Look in your demo room at all the production machines that you might have sitting around, because just in case one of them blows up and you got to wheel it out to the print shop. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot dabble in production print. Production print is a business model. It's a business plan. It takes detailed skills. You better know what the hell you're doing, or you're going to lose your ass on it. And quite honestly, do you really need to be selling production print? Really? What's the market potential in your marketplace? Folks, this production thing has been a fantasy for a long, long time. There is an application. Don't get me wrong. There are people that use these things. Don't get me wrong. But even in the ones that use them, even the ones that need them, we've completely bastardized that business to a point of absurdity. I love these pictures I see online regarding production print. Someone will be wheeling in, I'm just going to name an OEM. They're wheeling in a Konica machine and they're bragging about how they just took out XYZ, or they took out a Rico. It doesn't really matter. They took a machine out. And I'm thinking to myself, could you imagine if they had to put in the comments what they sold it to the customer for, what the service price of the customer was, what the profit margin on it was? Wouldn't that be interesting? Because, ladies and gentlemen, in the production space, and we're seeing this more and more, it's a little bit scary. It's all about winning. It's not about making any money. It's all about winning. Oh, we got to get that one out of there and get ours in there. And the OEM direct operations that are doing this, a lot of them are doing it because they need to move inventory. You can't run a business because you got to move inventory. That's the OEM's problem. That's not a dealer's problem. A dealer needs to be in business to sell things to end users, supply those things and service those things at a profit, regardless of some OEM's demands. I realize you got to work with your OEMs. I'm not saying don't work with them. What I'm saying is you got to decide what you're going to sell that they make. And then you got to decide how you're going to supply what you sell that they make and how you're going to service what you sell that they make. And in all reality, there's no better time than right now to really start cutting costs. And we got to cut costs like never before. Cost around human capital. And we got to rifle focus and cut cost. And if you're a dealer out there dabbling in production print, you need to get out of the business. Folks, if anybody out there got rid of production print to another dealer or gave it back to a direct operation, sold it back to a direct operation, reach out to me because I'd love to talk to you about that. Maybe we could do an end of the day with Ray episode and you could share what you did so that other dealers that are thinking of this could actually say, you know what, maybe I should do this. There is a strategy behind it, but you got to focus on what you want to be, what you want to do in the marketplace, and how you're going to make money. And doing the squirrel thing and chasing things isn't going to really work. You got to be rifle focused and you got to start cutting cost. Because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all on Monday.